So the greatest philosophers, East and West, through time, have all recognized that, in a way, everything we do is predetermined. Even when we were choosing something at lunch off the menu, for example, and we think we're choosing that, everything we're choosing is actually predetermined by all the influences that led up to that moment. So we're talking about freedom of choice. We really don't have a freedom of choice on that level. That's not where choice is. Because everything that we are inclined to do just kind of happens. So what is free will? What is choice? Really, what is choice? And it comes from a much deeper place. The choice isn't so much, do I turn left or do I turn right? Do I do this or do I do that? The choice is much more on a level of, am I present? Am I here or am I not? It's a whole different level of choice. Am I present or am I not present? The reason I'm saying that is because we can come to yoga, we can just come because it's on the schedule, we could do it, and we can bring our bodies in the room without actually ever checking in, without ever really, I'm here. And so I invite you to just really let's take a little extra time this morning to be still, and with our beings we state, I'm here. We sacrifice all the tugs and the pulls, which luckily in the sanctuary you guys have less of that on you. It's a perfect place to just let all that stuff go. But still, identify any pulls on you in this moment other than being right here. Anything that's pulling on you or nagging on you or just basically sucking your energy away from this moment. Identify it. Just call it what it is, because if there's any part of us that wants to be elsewhere, but yet, like it or not, we're always here, that is actually a form of torture on yourself. Like, imagine like a tug of war in our beings, like a deep tug of war. The fact that we're here and this aspect of us that wants to escape. The fact that every one of us has that on some level, wants to get there, wants to get on with it, wants to be done, wants to get to the next thing, wants to, it's just like this constant, insatiable need to get there is a form of torture. Let's just call it out. And so we're never going to really feel like good, really good and happy, which is what we all really want, until we really, it's like pulling a weed the size of an oak tree inside of our being. It's a big, deep-rooted weed. And if we're going to uproot this weed, we've got to feel every one of the roots. You gotta be brave. And that's what yoga is. We're going to be brave, and we're going to just really palpate the roots. We're going to breathe. And I want you to think of every posture, every breath, every movement as loosening up this oak tree-sized weed inside of us that is really the cause of everything that we want to escape from. There's nothing else worth really working on. We've got to pull the big weed now. Because the scariest thing is not, is this going to end or am I going to die? The scariest thing is this going to go on forever. That's the scariest thing. Realize that endless, the endless road that we're on is way, way more scary than am I going to die? Is it going to end? That sounds like a relief in a way. We want to really expand the life that we're on, not as this kind of several decades and then we're done kind of model of life. We want to wipe that slate clean and really see ourselves as on this never-ending path. It's not going to end. It's just going to change form. So let's face it. Let's face what's with us now. And start to breathe into that. So we're already in a yoga posture. We're never not in a yoga posture. Start to breathe as a way, think of your breath as like, okay, since we're not getting off of this ride, may as well start making peace with this. Think of your breath as the ultimate, like, okay, I'm here. What is it? What's my homework? And it's like in that acceptance, you really do claim your power on a much deeper level. I can't rush this process, but man, I can be at peace with it. I can make friends with this process. This oak tree weed has roots into every cell and neuron of our bodies, and we're going to just get in there and we're going to start loosening it up. And it's going to feel good. It's not going to be torture. This is the end of torture. So instead of me telling you right off the bat what to do, let's today just shake it up a little bit and allow ourselves to go, much like you were, Brad, just a moment ago, moving freely, going into a twist or whatever. I want you guys to feel at the ground floor that you've got the freedom, you've got the choice here. So just move. Let's just move our bodies however you want to move them. Let's say you come forward, maybe go in a totally different position. You lay on your back, or you go upside down, or whatever it is. Maybe you're just focused on your hand or your foot. Just whatever you feel like doing right now. Let it have this feeling of like, okay, this is me time right now. I'm just gonna feel my body. And if you think about it, to move around in your body is to move around in space. Well, you should have total freedom to move around in space. So if you start taking advantage of that freedom and you start to move, that's when you start to run into yourself. You start to run into the weed, the roots in your body. And you just feel them. We're not hating the roots. We're not hating the weed. We're just feeling it. Pressing into it. Leaning into it. Because it's this idea that there's a right way to do this and a wrong way to do this. That's what trips so many people up in this practice. There's no wrong way to feel your body. There's no postures that are better yoga postures than others. They're all yoga postures. Any possible formation you can place your body in, consider it a yoga pose. Good. Another way to think about it is you're going to go into any shape, whatever it is that you go into, and that's going to just make something happen. You can feel it. Okay, so what is that? Maybe you would call it a stretch or whatever you call it. It's a sensation in your body right now. So think of it like You're primed to have a conversation with your body. And you just made a contribution to the conversation by going into this position. Your body is making a contribution back by saying, hey, this is how this makes me feel. And then you have a conversation. Go back and forth. Try pressing in a little deeper. Try backing off. Try changing your angle. Wiggle around in there. Have a conversation. Be engaged. There's literally nothing you can do that is out of bounds. And when something feels good, when you go like, ooh, that's nice, zero in on that and enhance it. Focus on it. In a way, the weed is doubt. Anytime we doubt ourselves, we doubt what's happening, that's the weed. Now just keep going. Just keep moving, keep feeling, keep massaging. That's equivalent to uprooting the weed. Because doubt takes us out of the moment. So never doubt yourself. Just keep going. And keep those deep breaths flooding through the body. Something different going today in the music. Let's try this guy. And while you're moving about, you're just reminding yourself on some level that everything that you're doing is good. Like, it's good for you. You know that it's healing. You know that it's bringing balance to your body, alignment. The alignment doesn't come from doing a posture like the textbook shows. The alignment comes from the center of you, from the feeler. You are the feeler, feeling your body. So everything you're doing is good now. There isn't anything you can feel that isn't going to be helpful in creating more alignment in your body. Our schools, they were like, okay, if you're going to do the right thing, you're going to look at the textbook. This is how you do it. This is the right way. We were trained, conditioned over so many years to feel safe being told how is the right way that it's too scary now to like be a discoverer, to be a pioneer, because we want the safety of that which is already tried and true. So yoga has been like that too. We want to do the same postures we've been doing all these years. Let's just shake it up. Start to let your intuition start to grow in the sense of just listening to the subtle nudgings and urgings that your body gives you. And what we're going to attempt to do is, once I start guiding us through the forms again, to keep that organic feeling, to keep that fluid intuition going,
But for now, just keep moving. We're going to really enjoy this for a while. All I ask is that you keep the breaths at least a little more abundant than usual. When you breathe, you're saying, I want to be here. Without words, you're saying, in a deep, real way, yes, I want to be alive. No one ever sat us down, or it's unlikely that anyone ever sat us down and said, in order to be happy, you've got to accumulate this, that, and the other, or you've got to look like this, or you've got to be able to do this, or you've got to get rid of that. No one ever really sat us down and literally said that, but it's a deep programming that we got. We thought, okay, well, if I'm going to be alive and energetic and happy and vital, well, I've got to fix this and fix that and do this and do that. What if we just beelined and we're like, okay, I'm just going to be happy. I'm just going to move. I'm just going to be alive. I'm not going to put all these steps between me and what I want to be. That's what's blocking us. So just be that. I invite you to be that in every posture, every breath, everything you do it. Turn it up to 11 and just really love it. Let's not put any more steps between where we are and where we ought to be. It's silly. It's that dangling carrot that you never get to. So when you breathe deep, in a way you're saying, no more steps. There's no more steps to be here. I'm here. You're like you're cutting through all the bullshit. Good. So let's keep that in mind and let's convene in a kind of push-up posture. And I love this posture because it has a kind of, sort of triumphant feel. Strong. Have you ever seen those lizards, the way they do those little push-ups? And they look they're these tiny little lizards, but they look badass somehow. This is a really powerful statement, this pose. We're going to just hang out with it for a little bit, but feel the freedom of movement. You can move forward, back, left, right. Take advantage anywhere you can of your range of motion. Good. And then we are going to take it down. We're going to lower down at the elbows, going back. We'll go all the way to the belly this first round, and then we're going to be on the legs and the belly. Hands there on the floor, and then draw the head up and the chest up just enough to feel nice squeeze down the back, and then keep it natural with that breath. Feel your breath in your bones. Good, now let's use that push again to press away and answer that with a nice child's pose, simple, basic, sitting on the heels and curling in. And we'll rock the hips left and right. The weed is what keeps us from being here. So anything that interferes with your total, complete presence in this moment is the weed. Or sometimes I call it the program or the programming, the conditioning. Good. Let's emerge from that to hands and knees and get a little more fluidity in the spine like we've been doing, like we did last week, where we're fluctuating the spine up and down, but the first round, we're just going to the ends of the spectrum. So one end of the spectrum is belly is fully dropped towards the earth and the head is fully risen up. Feel the squeeze down the spine. And then try the other end of the spectrum where the head and tailbone drop. And you feel the front side squeeze, but really, really press into that end of the spectrum. Feel it. And move around a little bit in it. Knock around. We want to constantly challenge the idea that these postures are fixed. So purposely move, wiggle, tilt, turn. Now let's fluctuate between the two. Belly drops, head rise. Inhale. Exhale, head and tailbone drop, back rise. And fluctuating between the two. Now, think of this motion as an energy in itself. So anything, we know that like light travels in waves, sound travels in waves. Waves in the ocean are wave-like. So we want to create that kind of motion here. Allow these waves to come in through the tailbone and ripple up your spine and out the head. And you're the designer of this wave. You're the one that's creating it right now. So create it with detail. Don't settle for like a half-assed up and down motion. Really get in there. Movement is the first language. You are speaking right now to yourself with this motion. So you want to ask yourself, what am I saying right now? Am I treating my body like an object, like a clump of matter? Or am I treating my body like a living being? Most people have a bad habit of treating themselves like dirt. In other words, like an inanimate object. We'll be nice and kind and gentle with everyone else, but then brutal with ourselves. Just identify if you've got that version running. And use this posture, these waves of the spine, to rewrite that programming. Be kind to yourself. Actually express love to yourself with this motion. Good, and let's pop back up on the hands and feet into the upper push-up form, and let's generate some chi this way. So we got the earth wants us down, obviously, and we're resisting in this powerful way. And in that opposition, there's this great energy that starts to generate. That's in your chest, your core. Feel it not just as muscles flexing, but as an energy field between you and the earth. And then we want to, this time, lower down, and if possible, stay hovering. You can drop to the knees if you need to lighten the load a little bit. The elbows go back. We want to just hover for a moment, and this time, scoop to the tops of the feet and the hands so that the legs and the belly are off the ground. Deep inhale. Good, and let's answer that again with the child's pose, chilling out, rocking the hips left and right. Deep breath. Taking the moment by storm, just unapologetically here. Part of the programming is to apologize for our own presence, just in the very way we hold ourselves, in the very way we stand in this world. We don't have to be loud. We don't have to draw attention to ourselves, but we also don't have to apologize for our existence and really stand our ground as lights. Happy, empowered, alive, vital. Good. Round number 2, we come back up onto the hands and knees, and this time we go a little more free with it. So I believe we did this last week. Same concept of exploring the spine, but opening up the playground to include the sides, not just the up and down, but the side to side. Your hands and knees stay put, and since they can't move, everything else can explore in even greater detail. So the fixed hands and knees is actually very helpful. Go, and just don't ask questions, just move. Almost like the movements are just happening on their own, and you're just sitting back and watching them. Releasing, throwing off the restrictions and the constrictions of that apologetic life. Throw it off. The programming for men is oftentimes if I'm to be free and really let myself loose, it'll be flamboyant, it'll be too demonstrative or whatever, or it's gay and I'm not gay, or whatever it is. Just throw off all that freaking stale ass crap and be alive. Move your body. Good. And then we're going to venture into the spine via the twist, taking that right arm, sweeping under the left arm. Shoulder drops to the floor, head. And we take a pause there for a moment because there's already a twist. Even though you can go further probably. Just take a moment to breathe into the twist as it is. And then really ask yourself, does your spine want more? And if so, introduce more slowly. Press against the earth with that left arm or right arm or however you want to leverage it. It's all yours. Just go for it and let that left arm be free. Sound, too, is another great avenue of clearing and connecting. So don't be shy about sounding off. You need to let it fly. Let it fly. Good, and then the untwist is the release of the constriction, the flood and rush. And let that left arm sweep under the right. Shoulder drops to the earth, followed by the head. Oh. So again, that freedom of choice is not, do I do this or do I do that? It's, am I here or am I not? Am I feeling or am I just going through the motions? It's that getting involved. It's that really engaging yourself with what is going on. It's that choice to breathe consciously. Okay, let's get that untwist going, but without a rushed motion because we want to feel the rush. If we rush, we don't feel the rush. Then we relieve the knees. They've been supporting for quite some time just by turning the toes under. Pick the knees up off the ground. Let's be on our hands and feet now. First time today we're on our feet, at least in this little flow. I like to imagine the hands and feet are like plugs. Like you plug something into the wall to get power from it. Think of your hands and your feet as the plugs, and the earth is the power source. So if we got all 4 plugs in there, we got a lot of energy to work with. So move around a little bit. If you change the shape of your pyramid, you can direct how the energy flows. It's that simple.
So in traditional yoga, downward dog is just one right way to do it. That's it. And in this approach, there are infinite right ways to do it. And let your hand and feet placement totally change up. The cool thing about not having a mat, so we can go off of that normal rectangle. Let your hands and feet go wider. Try it out. Or you can let your hands go closer, even one on top of the other while the feet are wide, or vice versa. You know, they can change up. Symmetry has many expressions. Good. You can hopefully feel how much more organic and sustainable that approach is than just trying to hold this one rigid form. I'm going to bring the feet a little bit closer to about hip distance apart and start to scooch the hands backwards towards the feet until less and less weight is on the hands and more is on the legs. And then eventually you should be able to let your arms leave the ground, your hands leave the ground, and take maybe opposite elbows just to give your hands a grounding point, and hang from the waist up. Explore the variables here by straightening the legs, and that might bring you up part way. Bending the legs, and that allows you usually to hang down further. And then find where your favorite place is. Where do you want to go? And deep breath.
As the feeler, you're completely neutral. You're not like preferring certain sensations over the other. You're just neutral and watching and breathing. With every exhale, letting go of the resistance to what you feel. That's the weed being uprooted. Every time we breathe, we succeed. Just let it all go. I'm going to sway to the left. Just cover more ground. And then smooth, slow motion through the center, because that motion itself holds therapeutic value. Remember that means to an end programming is really deep in all of us. Everything we do, we think of it as a means to an end, and we never get to the end. So consider the transitions not as a means to the next pose, but as their own reward. So as you come back to the middle, you really feel that journey. Feel it like a massage stroke. It gets you right to the center. And then we're going to start to let the hands release the elbows. Bring the hands to the legs and start to slide the hands up the tracks of your legs till you're at about 90 degrees towards the legs. And just pause there for a moment. Deep breath. Let the hands then continue slowly to the hips and just feel that area with your hands as you swivel up the rest of the way. We hit the sweet spot where everything is stacked and we keep going. So the pelvis moves forward, the legs are strong, the gaze starts to turn up. And you feel that distinct opening there down low. We just want to hang with that. Now, it's fine-tuning from here. Just even a slice, like a millimeter further forward or back, you actually change quite a bit. So dial it in. I call this lifting the lid. There's like a lid on us deep down that suppresses and holds the energy down at the base. We want to lift that lid, let it flow up your body. And then bring it back to a neutral stance. Let your arms fall at your sides perfectly still, so all you feel is the movement of that, the effects of that pose. So there's a number of ways to direct the energy that flows through our body when we're on our feet. So we've gone forward, side, side, back, and then another way is to go down, so we let the knees bend. You can go so far, what I would call 10 on this scale is sitting so where your thighs are actually parallel to the earth. That's really heated. So maybe back it off from there. Keep it more at like a 6 or 7 on the intensity scale. So it's nice and warm, but it's not killing you. And then we're going to let the arms float up and round the fingers towards each other, round the elbows away from each other. Just enough. And just enjoy the feeling of knowing that you're just generating chi right now. You're getting brighter. Notice that everything we do is pressing us up against something inside of ourselves. So what does this press us up against? You'll notice after a little while when you start to want to come out of the pose, we're pressed up against something. What is it? Let's just be neutral with it and keep that soft inside. Deep breath. Oftentimes what we're pressed up against is just another version of the weed, the big weed we're pulling, the programming that keeps us weak. So we smile inside and breathe, and we get stronger. And this is not a muscle stronger. This is a mind stronger. Presence stronger. Especially as men, we want to be unshakable, unwavering. We want to be the rock. Well, that rock is the unwavering mind that doesn't topple over at the first adverse breeze. Nonetheless, we'll let the legs slowly straighten again and the arms fall at our sides. And know that it's not over when we come out of it. It's still going. And we want to really ride this wave out to the shore. Good. Breathing like you want to be here. Let's let the feet go wider. So part of what's running in this yoga practice is the physics, the geometry observations, the geometrical observations, and the physics observations. So they go hand in hand. So the geometry factor is, so we let our feet go wider, geometrically creating this triangle formation. And then we notice how does that change the physics, and the physics is tied in with the energy. So with the feet wider, we create a triangle. There's more energy focused in different places now. So you might notice, for example, the inner thighs, groin. Where does it speak the loudest? Is it in your ankles, your hips? So that's the way the weight is directed and angled and focused now more towards the hips than it was when our feet were under us. Geometry, physics, energy. Now we're going to work with the energy that the physics creates. So the pelvis, we guide the pelvis forward, further changing the shape, the geometry, and the physics, the energy flow up through the spine, up through the torso, looking up. And then we're going to start to come forward again. So we've already done a forward fold, but this time our legs are a lot wider, so it's going to be a different animal. Let your hands be on your legs, or they can drop to the floor, or they take opposite elbows like before, whatever you like. Keep it natural. We're not cranking ourselves into this pose. We're just leaning into it.
And breathing deep and let the channels open in your body. There's a lot of channels. In India, they call them nadis, those energy channels. You can think of it as meridians, the meridians of Chinese medicine. It's all energy channels, and oftentimes they're blocked or clogged. And you just want to imagine those opening up. Good. Let's see what happens if we travel over to the left leg. But try to leave the right hip behind. So when you go over to the left leg, likely that right hip will want to come with you. Best you can, leave the right hip behind so you can get nice deep opening, especially in that area between the right hip bone and your bottom right rib. Imagine that really opening up there, deep breathing. There's a lot of energy in this pose. The transition is its own reward. Go slow through the center to the right leg. Leave the left hip behind. Let gravity bring us back to the middle like a pendulum, and then we're going to reintroduce that free form that we started with. So let's bring that back. With your feet wide, just see what you can do. Let your knees bend or alternate or sway, however you want to go about this. The message of free form is so medicinal, because what you're saying, again, without words, you're saying to your body, I know what to do. I'm free. There's space. You know, we're also working with the body in our minds, which is often fixed, rigid, and paralyzed, really. So every time we move freely and just take advantage of that, you're like healing yourself from one of the deeper wounds. Come back to a nice middle ground. Let your legs go straight again. Let's start to follow the tracks of the legs with the hands as we come part way up again, just like we did before. Stopping halfway. Let a breath happen here. Just enjoy the feeling of the opening in the backs of your legs in conjunction with the flexion of your back. It's a nice feeling. And let the hands continue to the hips. Exhale. We're going to go and lift the lid again. So slowly float up. Pelvis is moving forward. Go with care. Consider it like you're really playing with fire, so to speak. It's a very powerful energy. And so you want to go with caution. Sweet. Come back to a neutral stance. Let the arms relax. Nice deep breath. Let it all tingle. So, distance between the feet, that's one way. But then what about the actual orientation of the feet? So let's just play with turning that right foot. You'd like kind of lift the toes, swivel on the heel to point your right foot directly to your right. But feel what happens when you do that and how that changes what's going on in that right hip. So the right and left legs are doing very different things now. I'm going to feel that and let the hands come right into the spaces where the hips are and feel the motion, this motion of tip from left to right. We're still facing forward, whichever direction that is for you. But we're just feeling that tip. So we want to tip to the right, and it may just be like a degree or two. You don't have to go very far to suddenly meet yourself in the hip in a whole different way. So feel whatever is appearing right now and try not to plow through it, just meet it. Deep breath. You're always open to going in further, but you're totally detached. You don't care if you go in further or not. You just hang out right there. You're open to it. Maybe all of a sudden you feel that green light and you just sink in a little further and just proceed that way. Good. Yeah. Remember, if you think of your body as really big, then there's no such thing as a small adjustment. Every little movement is huge. Now this can progress if you feel solid. Really imagine a strong wind hitting you. Do you feel like you would topple over really easily? And if so, strengthen up in the legs. Maybe even let the kneecaps float up and the quads solidify a little bit more. Slightly gripping toes. I want you to feel like really solid before you do anything else. That anything else would be to let that right arm sort of drop down, right hand to meet the leg. And the left arm fountains up victoriously to the sky. So you really, again, don't just settle for like a half-hearted thing. Really let it fly. Yeah. Awesome. Alive to the fingertips. So to make your body look like the pose isn't enough by itself. You've got to make the posture yours. In other words, really embody it. Fill it up to overflow. So where you really feel, again, like you're making a statement. You're like, man, I'm here. I'm alive. Say that with the pose. Say that with your body, and I promise the pose is going to be way more valuable. And also way more sustainable, way more enjoyable. So we're going to try this on the other side now. We've been here for some time, so don't fly out of it. Pull out nice and slow. You let the hands float back to the hips. We're going to first bring that right foot to face forward again. And then let the left foot be the one that turns out to the left. And then feel that swivel. We're just toppling right over that left leg. And it's an action of the pelvis, really. Good. So working with the geometry, the shape, to change the physics, which changes how it feels, the energy of the pose. So you are completely in charge here. If you feel solid, stable, like a breeze won't knock you over, let the left arm drop down, right arm floats up. Shine radiantly through the pose. Nice. And while all this stuff is going on in the body, you're the neutral feeler. You're just feeling all of it equally and just breathing. It's like you've got a smile inside of you, a smile that says, I love all of it. Good. And when we decide to come out, we want to really feel the mechanisms of lift in the right hip, left leg. So we're back upright again. We're going to parallel the feet. Be still for a moment. So the deepest aspect of the programming, the weed, is to believe at the deepest level that we are a finite container. We think of our bodies as made of stuff. We're so many feet and so many inches and so many pounds. And we've got all of these overlays. We believe we're just a finite thing. So this posture, think of this posture as the antidote for that. We want to zero in on the center of us, whatever feels like the most central place inside of you, your most tender, vulnerable, heart-like place. And let that be the source of this next posture, which explodes, slow motion, into this beautiful star pose, radiant, silent explosion. Now imagine emanating out from that center, that very center of you,
That emanation is what upholds the posture. It's not your muscles. It's your radiance. It's your infinite being. We're pulling the deepest weed of all here. The one that makes us feel separate, finite, and isolated. Just blast it off like an old skin. Good, and when you start to imagine coming out of the pose, shine even brighter, because that's when we're starting to palpate that old skin, that old finite skin. And this next motion is the actual shedding of that skin. We're going to sweep the arms down. So there's the radiance of the reach never ceases. We're just radiant downward reach turns into an eventual radiant forward reach, which gradually becomes a radiant upward. And we just continue that way backward and outward. Good. And just really feel the thoroughness of that motion. Let's go for a second round. Downward. Becomes forward. Thorough. Back edge. Overflow. Arms sweeping down. And then the hands can potentially come together behind the back, but we don't want to force that. If it happens, it happens. If not, take opposite wrists or elbows. Any of those are acceptable for keeping the shoulders open. Exhale, turns to inhale. Lengthen one more time. Lift the lid. And let's come forward again.
Head drops. Arms squeeze forward.
The neutral feeler. The witness. Be the witness. Presence.
I like to bring in those knee bends here for the last leg of it, and just kind of lunging right and left and right, and just nice, smooth ironing out.
And slowly come back up again. Hands separate. I'm going to try one other geometrical form for the legs. So last time we kept the legs straight and turned. This time we're going to turn that right foot like before, but also add the bend, which oftentimes allows us to get a little wider between the feet because of that bend. So go into a lunge to your right while still facing your forward. And just feel the difference for a moment. We've got two very, very different pillars. We got this straight pillar, we got this rounded pillar. Meeting at the base. What is the energetic of that? Feel it. And then we're going to topple like we did before, except slightly different now. The right hand meets that right knee, or if it feels natural, progress to elbow. Right elbow meets the right knee. Keeping space between the shoulder and the right ear. Left arm can fountain up to the sky from there. And then let your left arm start to topple towards the ear. And this is just the general idea now. So again, I want you to make it yours. Any kind of variations you want. Palm direction, arm reach. However you want to go about it. Awesome. Good. It's funny because if we hold back, we actually run out of juice sooner than if we just go, boom, really take the posture by storm, because the energy source is the enthusiasm. That's where the energy is coming from. And that's from that same place that the star pose came from, deep inside us. That energy doesn't run out. Good. We know we're going to go to the other side. I'm going to let it be entirely your guys' design. Just however you want to switch it up. Obviously, the roles of the legs switch And the rolls of the arms. Do that however you like. Let every movement be like art. It's not art for anyone else. It's art for you. Nice. You're the only one that you need to please. Back up to the middle where the legs become both straight again, parallel. And then we'll make our way, the feet a little bit closer together again. Feet side by side. Just glance down and see that your feet are lined up. Not sure if we've touched on this yet together, but we'll do it today anyway. We're going to just let our eyes close with the feet all the way together is the key. Because you're containing your foundation to a small surface area, relatively speaking. And when your feet are all the way together, there's no space between them, we get a little bit more teetery. And it's that teetering sensation that's exactly what we want. Especially when we close our eyes, we take away that reference of the visual space. And we fall entirely on the internal balance. So imagine, just like there's a North Pole and a South Pole, you've got a U pole. There's a Stephen pole and a Brad pole on planet Earth, a line that goes right from the center of the Earth up through you. Imagine a straight line right through the center of your being, out the top of your head. This line represents your line of balance, your perfect center. And essentially what your body is constantly doing is adjusting to stay aligned to this imaginary pole. So you'll notice as your body sways, it's kind of like you're swaying around it and through it. You're not rigidly fixed to it. The point is not to stay fixed. We want to be fluid. So every little sway or tip, we're feeling it. Celebrating it. Breathing into it. Balance is not a concept like this thing where balance means that I can do a fancy pose and not fall over. Balance is not a concept. Balance is a direct experience. That's cool. You can't measure it. You can't give it a shape or a size. And yet it's as real can be. Balance. You can feel it. So it's that feeling that is your center, that is your wellspring, that is your infinite nature. Now with that in mind, we're going to keep that awareness. Let your eyes open up again, reintroducing the visual sense. Should make you feel even more solid. And then we're going to really slow down this process that we often move quickly through. Is the right foot starts to get lighter and lighter, and notice what happens. Your pull shifts to the left leg. Your left foot gets heavier. Everything kind of swivels over before that right foot even leaves the ground. And if you're just now exploring with one-legged balance, just to have that foot hovering off the ground is enough. If you feel solid, you may even try bringing that sole of the foot to the left ankle or inner leg. But we're not losing sight of the main point, is to feel the balance itself. Enjoy the medicine of balance. As for your arms, your hands can come together at the heart or above the head or in any other shape you like, or just at your sides. Just let it be your design. And if that foot comes back down to the ground, don't even let that faze you. That's not you losing your balance. That's you keeping your balance. So you celebrate it. Smile, come back to the ankle. Keep breathing. And if you want to up the ante from there, you can close your eyes again, which is more of a psychological trip up than anything else. Because your internal balance does not waver. Now in the everyday flow, the everyday pace, we would just switch the legs and go onto the other side. Again, I want you to slow it down. Really watch the physics. Right foot meets the ground. If we were to look at its percentage, left foot has 100%. That 100% starts to transfer over to that right foot. We go through 10, 20, 30. They equalize for a second there at 50% each. And then that left foot starts to get lighter. Right foot starts to get heavier until it's 100% on the right foot. Left foot's off the ground, but there was never a bump in the road. There wasn't a moment that was left out. So you kept your balance. But most importantly, enjoy your balance. Luxuriate in your balance. Breathe. Awesome. We'll come back to 2 feet. Feet all the way together. Eyes closed. So it's always about contrast. So notice if you do one thing, if you stand on one leg, then being on 2 feet, by contrast, is going to feel so much more solid. So it's fun to be aware of that and start to work with contrast in your body. So let's just feel extra solid now on 2 feet. This is how we're going to actually wrap up today. Just be still, like a vertical shavasana. Restful, at ease. But with our awareness expanded beyond the normal realm of I'm a man in a body walking around. Let's go bigger. Let's really feel the planet. This massive planet we're standing on. I mean, it's the truth. Everybody who's on the planet right now is sharing this experience with you. There are people who are standing opposite of us right now. They're upside down relative to us. Be aware of the sphere, the spherical nature of reality. There really is no down. There really is no up. It's all relative. There's down if you're standing on the earth. But your down is someone else's up. Your up is someone else's down. Same for left and right and forward and back and all of that. So we want to feel that. Outer space is not just up. Outer space is down and in all directions. Imagine how many galaxies and universes are down beneath us. On into infinity. How often do we think of that? We often think of sky being up. So we want to think of that whole wide range. You're part of this great cosmos right now. Moving around the sun. Feeling the pull of the moon on some level. All of the planets, all of the stars, everything in existence, we're in relationship to it right now. And this is a good feeling. So hopefully that makes your day a little more magical. Namaste. All right, guys.
Your approach is like